Welcome to NAR's Level Up, the real story from Realtors.
Unscripted, candid conversations elevating issues that matter in communities across America and globally with NAR industry leaders just like us. Today, we're talking about our top advocacy issues. I'm Shannon McGahn, NAR's Chief Advocacy Officer, here with Andy Mahowald, Public and Federal Issues Committee Liaison, Joe Harris, Vice President of Government Advocacy, and Pete Kopf, NAR's 2023 Vice President of Advocacy. So, Joe, I'm going to kick it over to you. One of the number one issues we hear about nationwide is the lack of inventory and how that is making housing unavailable, inaccessible, and unaffordable. What is NAR's advocacy team doing nationwide to talk about this problem?
That's a great question. Thank you, Shannon. I think we should start first by acknowledging just how difficult the environment is. I mean, we have a banking crisis. We're still sort of getting out of the COVID. The economy is not running at full tilt, but Congress and the White House actually have done a lot of things to help with the inventory issue. First, HUD announced that they were putting investments into encouraging state and local governments to relax zoning regulations, which are probably some of the, that's realistically how most of this is going to get done, is through state and local action. And HUD is doing what they can to make sure resources are there to incentivize local governments not only to relax zoning regulations in some cases, but also streamline the permitting process so that folks can do things like build accessory dwelling units, do conversions of office space to residential. It all starts with zoning. And I think what Congress is doing is complementing what the administration is trying to do by pushing legislation like the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act and others that will hopefully grease the skids and making it easier for local governments. But really when it comes to just building and trying to create more housing, a lot of that does come down to what happens at the state and local level.
Well, maybe they can take a page from our playbook on how well our national, state, and local associations work together to solve these problems. Right. Next, I'll kick it over to you, Pete. As we have our members go every May to Capitol Hill and share our message with members of Congress, what are those messages going to be, and how does that impact inventory?
Well, Shannon, first of all, I'm super proud of realtors in general. I mean, we definitely know how to turn advocacy into action. And, right now, I'd say in 22, we did a great job of creating, tangible legislative policy results on affordable housing supply. And this year, we're going to continue to fight for that. And, because of our work with Congress knows that we have a historic 50-year record low, actually 5.5 million homes available for purchase is our shortage of a supply. And we need action to improve access to homeownership, increase housing inventory, and really streamline the affordable housing programs. So even though we are taking modest steps to reduce this gap, I think the importance of what housing does for the economy, not just at the local level, but also the state level and across the country, is so important. So here's our priorities, right? So we're going to incentivize more homeowners to sell their homes. We're going to push to attract private investment to rehab homes and owner-occupied homes, incentivize the conversion of commercial properties into residential and mixed use. And we're going to create incentives for housing providers to really increase using the Housing Choice Voucher program.
Amazing. And Andy, I'll kick it to you. One of our other top priorities as an organization and as part of our advocacy agenda is fair housing and promoting homeownership, especially for those communities who have been unfairly locked out of homeownership for generations. Tell us about that messaging and what you're hearing within the real estate community.
Yes, and it's all part of what Joe and Pete said as well. More than 50 years after the passage of the Federal Fair Housing Act, the homeownership rates among African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans lag behind those of white Americans. In fact, the housing gap between African Americans and white Americans is 30%, which is the same as it was in 1968. I was born in 1968, so in my lifetime, we haven't improved that. and that's an important thing for NAR to work on. NAR is committed to enforcing fair housing laws and policies that remove barriers to home ownership. And Congress should support legislation that closes the home ownership gaps and reauthorizes increase in funding for HUD's fair housing enforcement grant programs. Those are just a few of the ways we can enhance those buyers.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is something I'm super proud of, NAR. I mean, I think we are becoming leaders in this area, and I'm glad that we are marching to the Hill to talk to our public officials, elected public officials, about this and how important it is, not only in general for housing, but to create a better community and country. I mean, it is something that we are at the apex of what's going on, and I'm super proud of NAR for doing that.
And it's not going unnoticed on the Hill either.
Right.
We spend a lot of time communicating with financial services and their staff, keeping them abreast of what's happening. Like, what are we doing to create opportunities, particularly in those underserved communities? And I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that.
And it's our job to raise that awareness, which we're doing here, and which we do with our efforts year long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we started this journey, it was an opportunity, and now it's our obligation. Like, we are all in on this, and again, the pride of that, and I think watching our other realtors get involved in the advocacy for that is just so powerful. Yeah. So when we're thankful, we're all in. I mean, staff, volunteers, everybody, and it's making a difference. We are going to move the needle. We are moving the needle. It's a tremendous thing we're doing.
We're incredibly fortunate to have amazing staff. Resources as well. Our very own Vice President of Policy Advocacy, Brian Green, who ran fair housing enforcement at HUD for many years. He's put together a wonderful team that's working with each of our state and local associations on implicit bias training and fair haven and programs to make sure that all of the enforcement officials know that they have no greater partner than the National Association of Realtors in enforcing fair housing laws.
Yeah, yes. He's a resource and a talent that we're lucky to have.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. This was a very informative conversation with some of our top advocacy leaders in the association. If you'd like to learn more about NAR's advocacy work, you can visit flyin.realtor for a list of bills and initiatives we support and our asks of Congress. And if you'd like to dive deeper on some of these amazing research reports, you can go to NAR's research page and read reports, surveys, and our data collections. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Level Up, the real story from Realtors.